Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to Young Martin's Reels. Today we're going to be talking about this Sougayilang, I guess that's how you pronounce it, KO 5000 reel that I did the evaluation on and servicing 3 months ago. Putting it out there, I wanted to see how it was going to perform with some more quality reels. And I'd been, and even the guy in the boat with me is like, man, this is a super sweet reel you're using that you got here. And it wasn't 5 minutes after he said that this reel failed. And I'm going to show you what failed on it today. And we'll take it apart and see exactly how that went about. We're calling it a fail, but I'm going to be putting the reel back into action because the spool that I had on it was the El Cheapo plastic spool that came with it, but also the one that actually came on it was this aluminum spool. So it's, even though it's failed, we're going to go back and redo it and put this aluminum spool on and see if it will continue to function out there in the field. I believe it will. This is a much heavier reel. This plastic spool, though, failed. It snapped somewhere down inside here. You can see how this is sitting kind of cattywampus. Hopefully it hasn't bent the axle because it's kind of got the head twisted. So we're going to see what happens. Now I'm going to start off by trying to unscrew the drag on it. And it's kind of difficult because, like I said, it's I'm not sure it's unscrewing. Yeah, it is. Okay, good. Hopefully, we're going to be able to do just a quick swap out of the spools and have this thing back up and running. Okay. There's the cap. Knob. Yeah, look at that. The top of this just sheared right off and busted. I was hoping I could salvage the line back out of here, but looking at that, that looks like it's going to kind of twist it all up, and I think we're going to be throwing that line away. The only thing it's on this it's going to be salvageable is probably the drag washers, which are felt anyway. But we'll also look at them, see what kind of condition they're in. But yeah, I hit a nice size fish. He was about I think he was 19 inches on the boat, and that exertion squeezed this in, and it put too much pressure on the spool, and that was the end of it. Okay, but this one is still in really good shape, and we'll see if we can get it put on. I'm hoping this isn't bent. We're going to find out in a few minutes. Okay, there you go. The Sougayilang reel is back up and running. It's got good line on it. I took this line off because I think I put 20-pound test line, I think is what I originally put on this. I put 20-pound test line. I took it out and I fished with it one day, and I didn't like the performance of the 20-pound test line on there. I felt it was too heavy for the reel. So I went back and took the original spool off and took this and put 10-pound test line on it. And the reel has performed beautifully right up until this plastic spool snapped. So I'm going to probably take this 20-pound test line off here since I think it's way too heavy. I don't like to fish with 20-pound test. And so I'm going to take that off, put on some 10-pound test, and we'll have this guy out fishing again. But aside from that, the bait runner and everything on it still works fine. And I was actually fishing a spoon with this, and I had cast it out and had it drift into the bottom, and the fish hit. He was a 19-inch redfish, and he hit and took off, and that snapped it. Now, before that, we had been using this to balloon fish, and we had let the spool, I'm going to tell you this because that may have factored into this breaking. We had let it drift all out almost until every bit of line was off of this spool as it drifted across the lake. And when we decided it was time to move, we wound it in, and there was a fairly steady wind then. So that steady wind with the balloon dragging against the water was putting a lot of tension on the line, and maybe that super tightened this line down on this plastic spool and snapped it. But any way you want to look at it, that's definitely a failure, one that I haven't had with some of the more quality reels. So I'm going to strip this down, and I think you can see pretty much what happened right there, but I'm still going to strip all the line off of it and see how it looks. For those of you like myself who are just plain out curious, I've gone ahead and stripped the line off of this, and we're going to take the drag washers out of it and do a quick inspection. Okay, they are in good shape. They're still well lubricated. There's no water, no rust or anything on them. So we'll put those over my drag washer pile. But here is how this actually broke. It snapped right along this top here, and that's definitely a failure, folks. But it looks as though it had a crack right there first off. So it split across here. But yep, it is definitely not that well made. The plastic gave way and the spool failed. However, like I said, this was the secondary spool, and it does tell you you can put up to 25-pound test line on this. So they intended for this to be used for something heavier, but it did not hold up. I'm going to take off this 20-pound test line, like I said, put some 10-pound on it, and I'm going to return this back to the boat, and it's going to continue fishing. Aside from that spool failing, this reel's holding up just fine. That may be, I may have to say, okay, I recommend using this reel, but don't use the plastic spool, because the plastic spool definitely did not hold up to larger fish. It shattered. The bait clicker and everything is still working as advertised. The rest of the reel is in great shape. It just had a premature failure of that plastic spool. So, but I told everybody I would give an update on this if one came. Well, this is the update. The reel is still performing. That's what I said. My friend Robert had just commented just 5 minutes before it failed about how smooth this reel was and how much he liked it, and that he might consider getting one for himself. And then 5 minutes later, that plastic spool failed. But we're going to put it back out there with the metal spool and see how it continues. All right. And for now, that's Rick Stivers, the Young Martin's Reels, signing out.